All right, I'm back. Part number 3. I know it should be the third week and I should be in a different attire. But okay, listen, let me pull the plug on this. I have done part 1, part 2, and now part 3 consecutively. All right, I'm just cutting it. I'm not cutting it because of me. I'm cutting it because of you. So when you see it, you're going to see me in the same thing because I'm preaching the whole thing, right? But I'm only serving it. I'm serving it to you ante at a time, in order for you to be able to ingest and digest this word, this meat, because it's some good stuff. So we left off on part 2, and I kind of diverted my conversation into a different direction. Go back and look at week number 2, especially the ending, because the Lord spoke in that tail end to several bodies that was out there, and to give them some direction because of some choices that they were frustrated with, and that they wanted to some moves they wanted to make, and the Lord was trying to share with them what was going to happen, or why they could not make the move when they wanted to make the move. And so I used some illustrations to show some things to look for and some things to understand as we start to make different choices in our life. However, before that, I was talking about how Abraham had got to this place and he was walking around in this space. And part of the frustration, even my own personal frustration, was that I got to a place and I know God had called me to, and yet I was walking around in this place and it still seemed like what God had called me to, I had not fully apprehended it, or it was not fulfilling to me the way that I wanted to be, or to my liking. Okay, and so now we are at this other place, and we have to be able to figure out the frustrations of part number 1. That's in the beginning of the part 1 of this series, and then the frustrations of part number 2. So now in part number 2, if you don't understand that frustration, then you continue to be frustrated. But now I'm going to unfold the frustration so you can understand what it is that you are really supposed to get out of the voice of God when he is calling you, and what Abraham was looking for in a call. Now, this is going to surprise you. And this right here, I hope that it illuminates it, it revelates you to the point to where you start to look at life differently, and look at God differently, and to look to God and to get something from God in a different fashion, in a different form. Now, so we understand that in chapter number 12 of Genesis, that Abraham is given a call, that he starts to move in his calling, and he's on the move, and that he's in this place, and in this place is full of promise. Right? We understand that. We understand that the people that he took with him, and so on and so forth, and how God was going to use him to be the greatest manifestation on this earth, and ultimately Jesus would even come through that genealogical bloodline, so on and so forth. Okay, so now that's a truncated version. You can go back and you can read it on your own. Now let's go into the book of Hebrews. Hebrews, Tyler Perry. Hebrews, because he do it. Hebrews, the 11th chapter, and verse number 8. Now I want to show you something here. So it says here that, because this is the thing. This is the thing. What the place that you're journeying in right now that's got you frustrated, it don't require faith. It don't require faith. If you can see it, then maybe that ain't God. Because the God of what you see is going to be on the other end. It's going to be behind what you see, not in front of what you see. And see, so many of us, we looking at the man, and we got so engulfed with the man. We looking at the stuff. I want the money. I want the job. I want the occupation. I want this, that, or the other. I want the education. So it's the surface stuff. It's what's before us. But God is behind that. He's behind what he's going to see, because what he's really trying to get you to apprehend and to see is not something that you can see. Help me, Holy Ghost. I'm preaching already. It's really not something that you can see. But the reason why he uses that is because of your flesh. So now he puts your flesh out there, because if your flesh is out in front, then you'll go after it. You'll go after it. But if there's not anything out there, if there's no reward, no fleshly reward that you can apprehend on this journey or at the end of this, then you probably won't go after it. So again, now we get into phase 3, and there's a trick. But it's not a trick, but it is a trick. There's a caveat. Again, caveat number 3. So watch this. Verse number 8, chapter number 11, King James Version. Hebrews, chapter number 11, verse number 8. By faith. By faith. Now, watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Abraham is called the father of faith. But you can see in Genesis, it ain't talking about faith. At his calling, it wasn't talking about faith. But in his calling, there was something that Abraham heard that is not discussed as he's journeying in chapter number 12. But watch this when we get to Hebrews, because Hebrews explains it and unfolds it and unpacks it, so it makes it more meaningful and more satisfactory to our palate. By faith, he sojourned in a land of promise. Now, how did he do that? He was in the land of promise. He was walking around in the land of promise. He saw it. He could touch it. He could feel it. The atmosphere was on him. He was there. But then it says here, by faith, he had to sojourn. He had to walk in it. Not apprehend it, walk in it. By faith, he had to do that. By faith, this was part of my frustration. By faith, I'm before you. By faith. This is my sanctuary. This is my audience. By faith. I'm walking in it. I see it. All the different things. I can't even tell you what's all in my head that I see. But I see it, but I have not apprehended it. But I see it, but I have not apprehended it. But there's a measure of it that I'm experiencing. There's a measure of it that I'm experiencing. It could be ministry, it could be a relationship. It could be whatever it is I'm experiencing. There's a measure of it I'm experiencing intellectually from an educational standpoint. I'm walking in it. But it's not it. Because what God showed me is more than what I'm teaching you. Is more than what I'm preaching you. I saw stuff. I saw stuff. I saw institutions. I saw stuff that I'm not seeing right now. But I'm tasting it. I know I'm in the place. I know that I had to be prepared. I know I had to put in time. I know that God was speaking to me. God told me to start school and all this stuff. This was years ago, 12, 13 years ago now. Okay. And I've been preparing all this time for something other than where I'm at right now, right to this day in front of you. It's something other than this. Watch this. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country. You got to look at that thing like it's strange. You can't just walk in that when you got that relationship with that man or with that woman, and you know that God is in that, and you know that ain't exactly how God presented it to you in the call, in the relationship, as y'all journey together. Then you got to look at that. Something strange about this. There's something uniquely strange, and that this is not it. Even though this is it, it is her, it is him. But something about her and something about him is strange. Something about that business, something about that intellectual property. There's something about that being a entrepreneurship. Something about that is strange. Strange. I know this is part of it, but this ain't it. Why? It's too tangible. It's too tangible. And if it's that tangible, then that means that there's an omittance of God, or there's a continuation of God. There's something more that I got to get. Watch. He says he sojourned in the land of promise in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles. This was what he did. He says, I can't make this permanent right now. And see, so many of us have become complacent. We become complacent and in the promises that God gave us, not understanding that this ain't it, boo-boo. This ain't it. It's more to it than this. And you've got to understand that. It's more so you have got to come to the conclusion and the revelation that this is just going to be a tabernacle. What was a tabernacle? A tabernacle was a tent. It means that it was not a permanent fixture. Okay, so I'm trying to get you somewhere. I'm trying to get you to understand God's voice and where God is really trying to take you, trying to take us as the body, so we can do great exploits. So all this stuff that's going on in our nation, all this stuff that's going on globally right now, we will be able to speak to it, not only speak to it, to step to it. To step to it. The reason why we can't speak to it and step to it appropriately and effectively, efficaciously, the reason why we can't do that is because we have made it a permanent structure. And there's no power in that tent. There's no power in that tabernacle. All it was a type. It was a shadow. It was forthtelling something that God really wanted you to get to, really wanted you to see, really wanted you to apprehend, so you could be the power man and woman of God that he called you to be. Watch. For he looked for a city. So he goes, he's in his tabernacle, which is what he made. Okay. And so that's not it. But here's the thing. Verse number 10. This is going to be, we'll try to make this short today. Here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. Verse number 10. For he looked for a city. Oh, God. For he looked. Now, I thought it was when God called him in Genesis chapter number 12. And he told him about this place to get thee out of thy father's house, away from thy kindred, thy nativity, blah, 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 into a place, get there, and to a place that I'll show you. And he got to this place and he started walking around Mount Moriah and all these different places. I thought all that. And I thought it was going to be a land of overflowing milk and honey, and it's going to be prosperity, and all this other stuff was going to be there. And he was walking in that. Ain't that what the text say? Ain't that what we've been taught and has been preached and all that stuff? Right? Ain't that what it is? But in Hebrews, again, we have to analyze, look at the analytics of the text. What is going on? Now watch this. Verse number 10. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, a city which hath, King James Version, foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Ah, man. He looks for a city whose foundations and its builder and its maker is God. So now this has changed the game. Because what I was looking for, what I thought God wanted for me, that wasn't it at all. And Abraham heard something beyond what he could see. And we've got to be able to hear beyond the man, beyond the woman, beyond the gifts, the treasure, beyond the money, beyond all the stuff, the pomp and circumstance, the fluff of life, the influence, the status, all that. We've got to be able to hear God beyond that. So he goes on, he says, all this stuff that I was looking for, that stuff, I didn't even need faith for it. I had to have faith to keep walking. Ooh. I felt that. I felt that. He says, I got to have faith to keep walking. Oh, God. Keep walking. Whatever you do, keep walking. Keep walking. It's going to take you faith to walk. It's going to take you faith. Because let me tell you, as you're walking with God, they're going to be pressing on you. Things and stuff. Situation and circumstances, it's going to be pressing on you, and it's going to be telling you that you can't do it. It's going to be telling you that you ain't nothing. It's going to be telling you that you're not enough. It's going to be telling you that you're defeated. It's going to be telling you that you ain't got enough money. It's going to be telling you that you didn't hear from God. It's going to be telling you all this stuff. And because of the voice of the enemy, by faith, you got to keep walking. By faith, you got to keep walking. If you don't have faith, you're going to fall. And you're not going to be able to apprehend and walk with God and get the things that he has for you. Why? Because what you're looking at, what you're desiring on a surface level does not take the faith that the Bible talks about that Abraham had. And the reason why it makes him the father of faith, it's not because of the things that he walked in. Watch this. When we continue to read, it was Abraham's faith that impregnated Sarah. It was Abraham's faith. See, because you got to get to the point to where it's beyond the stuff. You got to go into the supernatural. It's the spirit that God is trying to get you to get to. It's the spirit. How am I at 100 years old and how is she at 90 years old going to bear a kid? You're going to give birth. That is supernatural. Isaac, the promise, that's supernatural. That birthing, that whole process. He talks about this promised land and he talks about his seed and he talks about all that. But he saw the manifestation, but it was after. So my video cut off right there. It was after. I was talking about what Abraham had saw. Jesus, I'm talking about the things that he saw was not the things that God wanted him to apprehend. And so many of us are going after those things that we can see visually with our eyes. And I told you that the visual part is the thing that God wants to give you, but it's after. So the thing that he wants us to go and to really see, to put our arms around, that thing is the spirit. Get rich in the spiritual things. Find wealth in the spiritual things. Not the natural. Not the natural. It takes the spirit to invigorate you to the point to where you can go into your wife at 100 years old. That is supernatural. And she's 90 years old, and have pleasure. Have fun doing it. And then to reshape, reconform, take her body backwards to where everything get just so to where she can birth out a child. That's supernatural. So he's saying, apprehend this first. That is the foundations and the builder. It was the hand of God. So this message, this series is following God's voice. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to find God's voice. But how do we get there? We got to find God in the spirit, not in the natural. In the spirit. What did it say here? For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. And y'all was tricked because y'all thought that when he got to the promised land, the place that he was walking in, that's what it was. That wasn't it. I'm gonna preach a whole different message, and I'm gonna talk about Abraham, when the rich man and the poor man, when he died, and the poor man was comforted beside Abram, King James Version, in his bosom. Okay, so this place that Abraham was and this prize that Abraham received as a result of his faith was that particular place. That was a builder and foundation that was made by the hand of God and not man. So it was not earthly, it was spiritual. It was spiritual. Oh, I wish I could teach and preach about this right here. But we're going to have to stop it right here. But listen to me. I don't know if y'all have heard all 3 or all 4 of these messages. I don't even know where I'm at right now. But I want you to go back because this is so critical to our understanding. And I'm preaching it. This is just one way of me preaching it. I can preach it in some other ways, and I'm going to come back and follow up with this series, but I'm going to turn it. I'm going to turn it and let the mirror reflect a different presentation. But I still want to be saying basically the same thing what I'm saying right now, but I want to say it differently so other people can hear it. Because maybe you didn't hear it this way, but maybe you hear it that way. But my point is that you got to know the voice of God, because right now God is talking to us. He's talking to us. And if we don't understand, we can't comprehend, if we can't journey with him during this process, we're going to be left behind. We may not miss heaven. We may not miss being with Jesus, but you're going to miss an opportunity of what God is calling you to do right now. Your efficacy of doing what God has called you to do now. It's about now. Being saved is easy, but salvation, walking it out, seeing it through, that's the hard part. That's the challenging part. That's the commitment part. It's going to take some time. So we've got to be sensitive to the voice of God. And what is God saying? Not just to Abraham, not just to Moses, not just to Ezekiel, not just to Isaiah. What is God saying to Donnie? What is God saying to you? God is speaking. And how is he speaking? What is he using? And are you aware? Can you understand the language? Understand the language. And maybe you can't understand the language because you won't take the time out to meditate. You won't take the time out to put the time in. You won't take the time out to be learned because you're so busy with the things of this world. You're so busy with that. You're so busy with that. You are so consumed like fire with that. The things of this world, that you're not seeing Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 10. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing that it's going to take faith to keep walking. And the reason why you want to give up and you want to forfeit your faith is because you said this is too hard. This is too hard because I want it and I want it right now. And if I can't have it right now, then forget it. I'm out. I'm out, God. I'm going to go do something different. I'm going to go serve the God of the universe. What you think ain't God, but he is God. But since you don't see the God, the one and only, the Alpha and Omega, the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, since you don't see him like that, and you see it as idolatry in some tree, in some crystal, some piece of sand, gold, and in money, and all this stuff, and in Hinduism, and in Islamicism, all this different stuff out there, since you see it like that, okay, go ahead, go on with your bad self. Go on. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right, y'all. Listen, we'll be back to continue this in another form, another fashion. Remember this: the worst is over. The best is yet to come. Your quality of life is getting better and better and better and better and better and better. And I know you don't believe that, and I know that you don't see that, but the fact that you're here listening and that this word is getting on the inside of you, this word does not come out of me and it will not return to me void. It is going out and it is going to perform that which it was intended by God to do. It is going out, which is going to perfect. It's going to make things better for you. It's going to make things better for you. And a lot of times getting better looks like it's getting worse. But your quality of life is getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. Even though it don't look like it, even though it don't feel like it, it's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. And you know what? You're going to live, not die. Live. And again, I say live. That's what Ezekiel said. In Ezekiel 16, he says to the girl which represented the children of Israel, she was dying, she was swaddling, she was laying in her own blood. And the word of God says, live. Live, 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 live. Don't die. Live. Live. Keep living. Keep living. Don't die. And declare the works and the will of God. And the Bible goes on to say, and that God adorned her. God adorned her. Put her all kind of necklaces and chains and gold and silver and made her fine. Made her desirable. Because she made a decision to live. To live. Be blessed. Be blessed. Be blessed. I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. This is Face to Face. I am out.